Hi, I'm Cassidy Mitchell, and welcome to Campus Connections, the podcast where we celebrate the stories, people, and their journeys that make Lyon College feel like home. I'm not sure today's guest needs any introduction at all. For decades, he has shaped classrooms, mentored generations of students, upheld traditions, and watched this place evolve in ways that very few will ever get the chance. Dr. Terrell Tebbetts, thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure.
I'm so happy to have you on. And as you know, you are quite the staple of the Lyon College experience. But I want to go all the way back. When you have given over 50 years of your life to this college, when you hear that number out loud, what goes through your mind?
It can't possibly be that long.
No way. There's no way.
How could it be that long? I remember my friend Phil McMath, the son of one-time Governor Sid McMath of Arkansas, talking about helping his father write his memoir toward the end of his life. And he said he had asked his dad, "You've had such a long, long life into your 90s now. Does it seem like a long time?" And Phil said his dad, former governor, said, "Like a watch in the night. So fast it goes by, you don't even know."
Exactly.
Yeah.
I can't imagine, though, especially considering all of the people and the spaces that you've been a part of as a part of Lyon College.
Oh, yeah. You know, when you several times over teach the grandchildren of your original students,
Yes.
it comes home to you that you have been here a long time.
Okay, and I love that you bring that up. So obviously that's happened for you. Has it happened a number of times now?
Oh, yes.
More than you could probably relay right now.
Yeah.
I love that so much. That's amazing. So take us back to the very, very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
What do you remember about your first days on Lyon College campus? What brought you here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I'd gone to a selective liberal arts college so that when I was in grad school preparing to teach college English, I wanted to teach at a selective liberal arts college. I knew what it had done for me, and I wanted to be part of doing that for future students. So with just one exception, when I started applying for teaching positions, I applied only to liberal arts colleges. And my advisor as a TA, Dr. Van Syke in Fayetteville, stopped me in the hall one day and said, "We just got a notice, Terrell, of a vacancy at Arkansas College." And he'd been here consulting on campus. He said, "I think that would be a good place for you. Why don't you look that up and apply if it looks good to you?" And so I did, and boom.
So at the time, you had never heard of Arkansas College?
No, I had, actually. I'd been on campus a couple of times.
Okay.
Yeah, my Shakespeare teacher brought us here when there was a convocation with a really noted Shakespeare professor, and she wanted the Shakespeare class to have access.
Yeah.
And then there was a meeting of student government leaders and newspaper editors of colleges and universities all around the state that took place on campus.
So we've been hosting state events for a long
Oh,
time.
yeah. This was mid-'60s. So I'd been on campus twice.
Okay. So you had some familiarity of Batesville in the area.
Yeah.
And also that just brought up to me, so our convocation series has been going on that long as well.
Oh, yes.
That is beautiful. It's something that was super impactful for me as a student. And so hearing that it's been going on for so long.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were somewhat familiar of the area. You're applying, you're looking for a role, and Arkansas College was a good fit. Then you get to Batesville, you move to Batesville. What are your first impressions coming to campus as a faculty?
Well, the town and the campus.
Yes.
Can I tell you about both?
Please.
Diane and I were just lovers of historic homes. We would drive around Washington County looking at homes that were in sad state of repair, and we'd say to each other, "Oh, it just needs someone to buy it and take care of it and turn it into a home place." So one of my first impressions of Batesville was there was a good stock of historic homes.
A bunch downtown.
Yes, and we couldn't find a historic home to buy when we first came, but within 3 years we had one, and we've been living downtown ever since.
And is it in that same space, that same home?
No, we've moved to to an even older historic
Okay,
home.
so you've been revamping and rejudging our historic homes downtown for some time.
Diane and I have restored in whole or in part 6 different homes in the historic neighborhoods. Lived in 2 of them, restored a couple to resell.
I was not aware of that.
Oh,
That's
yes.
amazing.
Yeah.
So, and then in terms of, I mean, you've lived in 2 and you've just sort of assisted other community members on how to restore properly their spaces as well.
One we bought that was partially in restoration, but the sellers decided to move and it needed finishing. So we bought it, did some more of the restoration, and then a minister, as a matter of fact, got in touch with us and said, "Are you going to be selling that home when you finish it?" I said, "Yes, sir." "How about selling it to me now and let me finish it?" I said, "Fair enough."
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like a deal.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you've been, I mean, you moved into that historic home. You and Diane start to restore it. And your immediate impressions of Batesville is this could be a place for us, huh?
Yes.
All right.
Absolutely.
And then was it the same kind of feeling for Lyon College community?
Absolutely.
Or the Arkansas College community?
Absolutely. The faculty was very accepting of this new face, this youngster. I felt no sense of, "Who are you, you young upstart?" Nothing like that.
I love that.
I do remember one of the older faculty members at the time referring to me as that young professor who gets along so well with the students. Well, I hope I'm now that old professor
That
who gets
still gets
so
along
well
with the students. I love that. I've had a similar thing, maybe reworded a little bit because I'm not faculty, but said around to me here recently because they're like, "Oh, she's in that age group. She gets along well with them." But you're right in that those skills don't necessarily go away when we get older. You can still very much be connecting with the students.
Oh, yes.
So when you're getting first here on campus, did you have any idea at that time that Lyon would become a lifelong dedication for you?
No, not really. Diane and I had kind of thought we would live on the East Coast somewhere, not Northeast, but the Mid-Atlantic, from Virginia, Carolinas, maybe Maryland, maybe Northern Georgia, somewhere east, interested in historic stuff, right?
Yes.
There's more of it on the east than there is here in the
A lot more when you go
Heartland.
that way. Yes.
Yeah. So that had been the thought. But, sometimes the Lord has put you where he wants you to stay, and here I am.
And you've had such a magnificent impact for so long. And I mean, at that point, sometimes I like to say life happens as it should.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think that's just a perfect example of that.
Thanks, Cassidy.
So over the years, how has Lyon shaped you just as much as you have shaped it?
Well, it's an interesting question, Cassidy. I'm going to say that Lyon involved me for about half the time I've been here in administrative work, primarily as a division chair for several terms, but probably 25 years worth of being a division chair, and then chairing other study commissions and writing North Central self-study reports and that sort of thing. And Lyon taught me through that that's not really where I get my rewards. Administering programs, building programs.
Yeah.
I'm glad there are people who do get rewards from that because we need people to build programs and administer programs well so they run well once they've been built well. But my rewards are working with students. And so when one of the past presidents offered me the deanship, academic deanship, I turned him down. I said, that's not me. That's not where I get my rewards. So it's perhaps unusual to think of a person who's been teaching so long and not to have risen to the deanship. But to me, it would be no rise. It'd be a loss of what I love.
Absolutely. And it's so important that you think of that from your perspective of, actually being passionate about what you're doing every single day. But I think it's a perfect example for our students who I'm always telling that your career is a journey. I mean, trying new things helps you find out what you like just as much as it helps you find out what you do not like. And having the opportunity as a professional to explore those avenues and then also step back and be self-aware enough to say, that's not where. And it's not necessarily not where your skills lie. I mean, obviously you had the skills to do so and you had a community that was like, he can do the job.
Yeah.
But is that what's best for you?
Yes.
And that's the question that we need to be asking.
Bingo.
I love that.
Yeah.
And just hearing too, because honestly, I didn't know your personal story. And at the end of the day, I think you'd serve well as a provost or something like that. And but your true passion lies with the students.
I've said a number of times, I really feel most myself when I'm working with students in the classroom or in my office, wherever it is.
Well,
I feel
outside
most
too.
myself.
That's one of my favorite things. I saw sometime last academic year, you had taken one of your classes outside, as you commonly do. And I was just walking by on campus, but I snagged a few pictures and sent it to marketing because it's, one, something you so commonly do, but just like you said, you're shaping lives in the classroom, outside the classroom, teaching outside I mean, there's just so many opportunities to teach, to impact their lives.
Sure. Help people get where they want to get. Help them find where they might want to go.
Absolutely. And that's something I'm always telling the students too. It's like those conversations, whether it's in your academic classroom or with the Career Center, it's more about like where you want to be individually. And
I remember probably 20 years ago, one of my English advisees, first baseman on the Scots baseball team, spoke one day at chapel. The campus chaplain at the time would have various student organizations conduct one of the weekly chapel sessions. And so it was the baseball team. And his team members had chosen him, Ryan, to lead the chapel service. And I was there. And it struck me as he was doing that he might have a call to the ministry. There was something about him in that position that just seemed so right.
To fit.
So the next time he was in my office, I said, Ryan, when you were conducting the service, I really got the sense that you may have a call to ministry. And he got a shocked look on his face. Oh. He said, Dr. Tebbetts, I've been wondering that myself. And he has indeed been in ministry, first in seminary and then in ministry ever since he graduated from Lyon.
I just think that's so beautiful too, because I mean, that story's a perfect example of a lot of the times we do feel our inner callings. We do know or have a push, an internal push to be where our passions lie. But taking that jump, especially for our students at such a delicate age, it feels wrong. It feels weird. But when you have someone, especially a trusted advisor or professor, to highlight those skills in you or to just say like, hey, I think you'd be good here, it's crazy how impactful it can be. That's a really beautiful story, especially for the ministry. So how have students influenced the way that you see your work over time?
Well, I take the student evaluations of each class that Lyon encourages students to do online. I take those very seriously, and in fact urge my students not just to run down putting numbers on the page, but to leave some comments that'll help me see what might work better than what they experienced already. I remember in one case. Well, this was a survey the English department did of English majors who were in grad school, asking them what they would have liked to have that they didn't have that would have helped them as graduate students. And one or two of them said they wished they had had more critical theory, which is a way of approaching literary text that's especially important in grad school. So we had worked literary theory into our senior level courses, but we did not have a course in literary theory. So we created one and made that change in our curriculum. Didn't require it, because if you're not going to grad school, you don't particularly need it. But every student in English ever since then who was going to grad school, we've advised into that course. They let us know what they needed, and we responded.
Well, and that's something that can happen when you have a good relationship with your students, and they know that you're going to take their thoughts and ideas into consideration.
Yeah.
You know, like you said, I know that sometimes course reviews can be rough. I know that sometimes students can be critical, but with good purpose, because you want to hear those feedbacks.
Sure, absolutely.
All right, so paint us a picture. What was campus life like when you first arrived?
Oh, my. Well, let's see. In the fall of 1970, there were 298 students enrolled in Arkansas College. Okay. The dormitories on campus were now the Quad and Spraggins Hall.
Yeah.
That was it. Okay. So obviously you can't put 298 students into those buildings. So about half the enrollment was commuting students who lived in town or in the county or in surrounding counties who would drive here. It was sort of a half and half mix. Of course, we still have very many commuting students, but nothing like half the student body. That was before there was a UACCB and before the state had, in fact, started any of those state-supported two-year colleges. Yeah. So we were serving a general college-age population. It was not a selective school. It was what a good 4-year open enrollment college would be. And then of those students who were living in the dorms, the vast majority were men. Now, you remember the date I gave.
Yeah, we've got to take that into consideration, and that's fair.
1970, Vietnam War.
Oh.
And if a guy was enrolled in college, he got a deferment.
You know, I wasn't even thinking that.
And would not have been called up. So it was...
So a lot of people in school that maybe didn't really want to be there.
But they didn't want to be in Vietnam either.
Which is hard to argue that.
And many of those students were from the Northeast, from Connecticut, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York, because so many young men were wanting to go to college rather than Vietnam, that the colleges up there, they were filled.
Sustain them. Okay.
Yeah. And we actually had a missions guy on staff stationed in New Jersey that served that whole quadrant of the Northeast.
That's
so
smart,
we had
strategic.
A lot of Yankee students on campus.
Which probably created a really interesting mix and conversations, especially for some of the courses.
In fact, I'll tell you about one of the ways you saw the division. We had 2 local fraternities when I came here. One was mainly guys who were living on campus, mainly guys from the Northeast. The other one, mainly commuting students, guys from the local area. One became Teak and one became Kappa Sig. But when they were first got those national charters, which was completed by 1973, it was, all of these Yankee-sounding names, and then Fulbrights and McSpaddens and et cetera, local names in the other one. That's changed over the years. Of course.
Yeah. I mean, the dynamics within the fraternities, I think, change year to year, which is something that's beautiful about our on-campus Greek life, both for fraternities and sororities. But it is interesting hearing that you were there when we got our national charters and you saw those local fraternities turn into national fraternities. And how long, I guess we may be skipping some things here, but how long were you sort of involved with the fraternity life before you yourself became a brother?
Well, I became a brother very soon. Right after the Kappa Sigs got their charter, they needed a faculty advisor. And so this was 1973. And so the fraternity had voted to ask me to be the advisor and to give me a bid if I would be willing to be the advisor so that I could advise as a brother. So 3 of the fraternity leaders came to my office with the request, and when I agreed, oh yes, I'd be glad to be your advisor. Then they said, in that case, would you like to advise us as inside the fraternity? We'll give you a bid, or outside the fraternity. And that's okay if that's what you'd rather do.
Yeah.
I said,
I'm joining.
I was still in my 20s.
You're like, I'm rushing. I'm rushing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well,
yeah.
and it's interesting to me too, because as an alumni, I knew that you were affiliated with the fraternity. And would always hear the brothers so excited and engaged by your presence at meetings and events, but did not know that it had started from the very beginning. So I think that's really interesting context for, both other alums and current students to know.
Yeah.
It's really
that's just one of the places that I have so much pleasure in working with students is within in the fraternity.
Yeah, well, and it's a way that you are able to sort of bond with them different than academics. I mean, you are, I know, and I've not had many of your classes, but I've heard from plenty of current students and previous students how impactful and how close you are with your students, and you take that bonding relationship. But stepping outside of academics, as I'm learning, stepping outside the Career Center hat gives a new way of bonding with the students.
Sure.
And so I'm glad it's interesting. More and more faculty need to get involved with that, I think. Well, there's only limited spots for the Greek advisors, but there are other ways to do it.
Right.
So what traditions or values felt especially strong back then? And if any of them are still present today?
One of the expectations of faculty right from the very beginning, from 1970, was that faculty would be involved in the community, that we wouldn't be some little isolated city on a hill outside the Batesville community. And so that sounded good to me. I wanted to be involved. And Batesville is the kind of community that is so open to newcomers. You know, some southern towns are very... who are you? We don't know your people.
That is so true. And I've never felt that way in Batesville.
No.
Both as a student and a newcomer, and then after returning back after grad school, I truly feel like me and my children were opened with wide arms from every different aspect and avenue. So it's nice to hear that was true even then.
Oh, even then. And since that was natural to me, I just took advantage of every opportunity I had to get involved. And so over the years, I've been I've been in church leadership positions, still am, but in the Preservation Association, in the Planning Commission, in the Historic District Commission, in the Family Violence Prevention Program. There's just been so many places in the community where I've had a role and tried to leave it better than I found it. As it were.
And I love that you phrase it that way, because you're right in that there's so many different avenues for faculty, staff, students to get involved in the community, but because there are so many avenues in which this community supports itself.
Yes.
And you just named a few, but there are so many others in which this community has set systems in which we're saying we're going to take care of our own. And then it gives, again, student, faculty, staff opportunity, and community members an opportunity to opt in to whatever they're most passionate about, taking care of their community.
Right.
And I know that's something you've always, so tell us a little bit about that historic preservation. That's somewhat associated with the historic homes downtown.
Right.
And I know just a little bit, but I know they offer tours, like walking tours of some of the historic homes.
Yeah. The Batesville Preservation Association is a private nonprofit. It's like the Quapaw Quarter Association in Little Rock.
Yep.
In fact, those are the only two private nonprofit preservation associations in the state of Arkansas. Little Rock's Quapaw Quarter and Batesville's Preservation Association. And the Preservation Association has published a number of works, including a about 200-page book on the historic homes of Batesville, their histories, their architectural styles, publishes a number of brochures on various homes in the historic districts, one on the homes associated with our famous Governor Baxter from Arkansas, from Batesville, Elisha Baxter, who was the last Reconstruction governor in Arkansas. And if you've had Arkansas history, was one of the sides in the Brooks-Baxter War right at the end of Reconstruction.
Okay, I was actually wondering, because I'm not a history buff at all, but I know that name. And so I did think it was maybe something other than just being a former governor.
Yeah.
It was probably that.
He was from Batesville, yes. And his sons and daughter lived here. His grandchildren lived here, and there are homes all over the historic district that are associated with the Baxter family. So we did a little brochure on that.
Yeah, and that makes sense, too. That's probably where I've seen the name, because I know a lot of the historic homes do have the signage out front to notify.
Yes.
I've really enjoyed seeing that, too. And one of the things I love is walking and driving down Main Street and seeing some of the homes, too.
The most important thing I think the Batesville Preservation Association did was to get the city council to rezone the downtown neighborhood. It had been zoned R2, which is residential. R stands for residential, but 2, not 1. And R2 allows professional offices, it allows apartments, duplexes, etc. And that kind of use discourages people from investing in single-family homes in the neighborhood. You don't want to invest to restore a single-family home if there's going to be the home next door torn down and a flat-roof dental office put in next
100%.
door. Yeah. And that had happened in the neighborhood. And you see some of that still in the neighborhood because it happened before the rezoning.
Mm-hmm.
But we circulated petitions all over the downtown neighborhood. We got homeowners to sign. We presented it to the city council, and they changed the zoning. And since that time, investment in those historic homes has just continued.
Oh, yeah, and grown, if anything. I know some, somewhat recent alums who have bought their own home or bought their own home and started reinvesting and fixing that historic home. So I know
Davidson's on College Street.
Yes, it's become more and more of a common thing, and I think that's interesting. So you've dabbled a little bit in some grassroots activism.
Oh, yes.
I like that. So you're out there campaigning, boots on the ground.
Yes.
This is my community, and this is what we can do for it.
Right.
And it's interesting to see because I don't know what sort of political landscape was there when you were doing it, but the reality is some of the things that I think of as just natural to Batesville, like those house tours that happen annually and stuff, wouldn't be as successful if it wasn't for the rezoning.
Right. And we do those house tours to give people an idea of what a restored home can look like, give them a vision. If they're interested in an older home that needs some restoration, they'll go, we could do this. Look what they've done.
Well, and I imagine you're a huge help on them, having restored 6 of your own, saying like, oh, no, this would look good, and this would look good. This is most applicable to the time period. All right. So it's like you wear a lot of hats. I mean, community activist, English professor, historic home renovator. I'm sure that's not the end of them.
A churchman.
Oh, yes, and a religious man. And a poet.
Yes.
That's something I've always loved, whether it's your poems or you sharing poems that have maybe impacted you. What is it, monthly or every 2 weeks, the campus share?
Yes.
I always look forward to the poems that you share, and they always, sort of ground me in that day because I'm not much of an English person either, but I love that you share.
Poetry is one of the things I write myself. I, of course, write a lot of essays in my field. I don't write fiction and I don't write drama, but I do write poetry. And I've published about 30 poems over the years. So got a sabbatical right now to spend more time writing poetry over this semester.
What a great entry, because I was going to say thank you so much for joining us while you're on sabbatical. Yeah. I had a few people tell me, no, he wouldn't be able to do it. I'm like, well, he already agreed. So, so just whatever.
Done deal.
Yeah, oops. But you are looking to write some poetry, hopefully getting some relax, some R&R during your downtime. But
yes.
Are you working, are you going to start some poems? Or are you looking to complete some works?
I just submitted 4 poems to a literary journal. I've just finished yesterday an essay on a Faulkner novel that I was working on. So next week, I've got a program laid out to help me get me started writing some poetry. I had a sabbatical maybe 30 years ago to write poetry. And it's always best to have a way in. In that case, it was, okay, I could write poems that put together the people that I know who live in these historic homes and the look of the house itself.
Okay.
Yeah, how does the personality of the person in the house fit
that
the way
home
the house
and the structure
looks.
and architecture?
Okay. So that got me into got me started on a lot of poems, and some of those I ended up publishing. So this time I'm thinking of some memory pieces.
Okay, so you're like more. This is more of a reflection session and thinking of. Is it like you, or is it just distinct memories that you plan to?
Me and family. I think me and my family. Growing up, my age group is just before the baby boomers, and I was born in 1944. Baby boomers 1946 on.
Mm-hmm.
So we war babies. That's what you call those, born in World War II.
Mm-hmm. I've never heard that term before.
Yeah, we were war babies, and we share more of the Depression era kind of values, people born in the Depression era and even in the 1920s, than we do the baby boomers. And our memories are very different from the baby boomer memories. Just for example, on racial issues, I grew up in the totally segregated South and saw with innocent eyes as a child what I came to see as horrors. And so I think some memory pieces about what it was like to live then and to see what was going on, but with the eyes of a child that still needed to grow into understanding what was going on.
I think that would be really impactful, and I can't imagine what that looks like for you and reflecting in your memory, and obviously will be very personal pieces, but could potentially be very impactful in this time period and some of the things that we're seeing today.
Well, that's my program. I hope it comes out with some good stuff.
And then also, just because after we've talked about some of the houses, I'd love to read some of the poetry that you've created and published on. It made me think of, and this might sound silly, but nowadays it's so common to say like people look so much like their dogs.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so that's kind of what I was thinking when you were talking about like the people and how they reflect their house. But I don't know, that would be really interesting to hear what you saw, what connections you drew from that. So you have seen Lyon evolve in nearly every possible way, academically, culturally, physically. What changes over the years stand out most to you?
I think the most important change, well, I guess you would say the most important change is we've developed a substantial endowment. When I came, our endowment was less than $1 million. And we'd be gone if we hadn't built the endowment. So, realistically, that is central. We wouldn't even be here without a decent endowment. But as far as the interior, the operation of the college, it's the honor system. It's the honor system. We didn't have one when I came. And we had that normal for public education and for colleges and universities sort of division between students and faculty. I remember as an undergraduate sitting in class, taking exams, and the professors monitoring the class, sometimes on foot, walking up and down the aisles, watching us write, making sure we weren't pulling out some crib sheets, etc. I never did that myself before we got the honor system, but I got the message,
Mm-hmm.
We are the police and you all are violators.
And we do not trust you. And the only thing we trust is that you will cheat or that you will break rules. Yep.
Bingo. In one case, as an undergraduate, one semester, I had a young professor who came from a school that had an honor council, an honor system. And when she passed out the exams, said, I'm going to stay here for a few minutes while you read the exam so I can answer your questions. But once I've answered all the questions, I'll be in my office. Bring me your finished exam when you're finished. I was like, she trusts us.
Like, what is this?
Yes. She thinks we're honorable people.
Yes. And as you know, when you give people the space to be like, oh my gosh, they trust us, I need to be somebody worth trusting.
Bingo. Yes.
I had a very similar experience coming to campus and just a normal high school sort of everything is penalized and everything is watched over. And my first American Experience class, Dr. Roulier did a very similar thing. Here are your blue books. Here are your exams. I'll be here for the next 3 minutes to answer any questions that you have. And other than that, you can turn them in upstairs. And I'm literally like, looking around to some of the other freshmen, like, what's going on? I mean, obviously, we had been talked about with the honor system and the council.
Like
I'm like, no, wait, they actually do this. This is not just something that they say they do. They actually trust us.
It creates the right kind of relationship between students and faculty. And it also prepares students for their life as professional people.
The real world.
Yeah. Wherever they go, whether they're a public school teacher or entering a law firm or entering a business career, those who are their seniors as they begin their careers are not going to be overlooking every word they write, every word they speak, every act they take.
Nope.
They're going to be trusted as individuals.
To act with integrity.
Yes.
To be academically honest.
Yes.
And to do their work.
Yes, on their own.
Yes, themselves, without cheating.
Yes.
No, that's something I've always really valued, and I love to hear that you sort of highlight as a college staple because it's, I don't know, like I said, it was both taught me the values of honesty and integrity, I think, and was the first place in which I felt trusted to have those and to carry forward with myself. But then working, I was a member of the Honor Council and sort of helping mentor some of the students through violations. And the approach where we sort of take a sanction approach and instead of penalizing them and it's always like, you're so bad, you did wrong. No, it's
redemptive.
Exactly. Like, everybody makes mistakes, but what are you going to do to correct this?
Right.
And how are we going to move forward? And how are we going to penalize you based on this mistake without impacting and changing the entire course of your future?
Those first mistakes, especially in the freshman year, it's just from old bad habits they picked up in high school.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And once they realize I'm in a community that's different, then overwhelmingly they value that.
Then that's what you become a part of instead of, but you mentioned that was one of the changes. So the honor system has not always been in place.
No, not till the 90s.
So you saw the creation of the honor and social systems. Were they at the same time?
The social system changed after the honor system.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will you talk to me just a little bit about that creation process? Was there pushback? Was there...
Yeah. But the dean of students at the time had been brought on board by the president who challenged us to develop an honor system. So...
Kind of had to be on board with the honor system. I get that.
Yeah.
Well, so... and it's fine. We'll move forward.
Yeah.
So what changes are there things from earlier decades that you believe are essential to preserve no matter how much we grow and change as a college? I know with our new professional schools, we are a system now and we are in multiple locations and there's a lot of beautiful growth and change happening around campus. What does not need to change?
I think the main thing that doesn't need to change is our willingness to hold students to high academic expectations. And even when I was first here, when we were such a small school and pretty much an open admission school, students were held to high expectations. And that's because we want them to go into the world not only prepared for a career, a college-educated position in the world, but prepared to stand out as such. I remember a CEO on campus from a statewide organization, statewide business, 25 years ago or so, that one of my English majors had gone to work for. And I asked him how she was doing. And he said, "She is doing fine, and I wish the college would send me more just like her."
No, it's so true. And that sort of over-preparedness for career and professional life is something, one, that had benefited me greatly, and I've seen it benefit other alums and my friends. But it's something, it's interesting because it's really hard to explain to current students.
Yeah.
All they think is that they are just being, they are drowning in all of this academic work and all of this over-preparedness. And it is hard and it's so difficult. Yeah. But so when I tell them, especially working with seniors and doing interviews with students who are trying to go to professional school, I'm like, no, you are going to stand out. And once you get into that career, you're going to think, wow, I am over-prepared, but thank God that they did that for me.
Let me tell you a story that one of my other English grads told me. He didn't know if he really wanted to go to law school or not. He decided maybe he would try to find a job in a law firm and see.
Little career experiences.
Yeah, a little experience and see. So he saw a job on Craigslist advertised, just what he was looking for, in a law firm in Little Rock, a smallish one, but not just a one-person operation, of a legal assistant, a college degree required. He applied immediately. The next day, the ad was taken down, but he got a call. He went for his interview. A few days later, he got a call again. He was hired. Once he got on the job, his supervisor on the job said, "I want to tell you why we hired you." Said, "That day you applied, that was the only day the ad was up. We took it down because we had over 200 applications that one day. We interviewed just two of you. One, a woman that had experience as a legal assistant. And you, well, because you were from Lyon, and that's like Ivy League."
And it kind of had the reputation when I first joined Lyon as being the Ivy League of Arkansas, the Harvard of Arkansas, which was the common sort of phrasing.
And this was an attorney in Little Rock who was not an alumnus of the college. That's the reputation that the college has. Why? Because that's the students that we put out.
And but it all circles back to them crying during midterms and finals and them saying, why do I have to do all this work? That's why. Yeah. That's why. And it continues, it builds a reputation for the college itself. It's interesting, a little different, but my uncle, who's recently passed, but did a lot of work in D.C. In the Social Security Administration and was a faculty at various colleges. When my sister and I were looking at schools and we're talking about Lyon, he recognized the name. And this is a man who was not from Arkansas and did not frequent this area. He was from Tennessee and lived most of his life in Virginia, but had heard and met plenty of people on Capitol Hill who were from Lyon, and the reputation stood for itself. So he was like, yes, you guys go there. That's a great place for you guys to be. If that's your place, go ahead.
Yes. So we don't want to change that. We don't want to change that.
It's not at all. And it's something that I hope through the Career and Professional Development Center that we can continue to maintain and keep that high quality standard and rep.
Right. But at the same time, we faculty have to make ourselves constantly available to students to help them meet these high standards.
Absolutely. And I think that's something that really stands out. In terms of the faculty and student relationships and the bonding that goes on, but also that availability, like whether they're calling and nowadays texting or just sending an email to their faculty outside of office hours, hey, I need help. I have a question that's inhibiting me moving forward. But something I've always experienced, and I know is still true because I hear from students, is that our faculty are available.
I want to be. Yes.
And it's something kind of hard to believe when you're saying, oh, no, these high-quality PhDs, experts in their field who are continuously, publishing and, writing research or conducting research in their fields are also available to you almost 24/7, not actually, but just about.
And that's a big difference between a liberal arts college and a university.
Absolutely.
I remember a few years ago sending an English major on to get a PhD, and he went to a university in Illinois. Before he was ready to leave, graduation time, I suppose, I said, now, Dennis, you got to know the faculty are not going to be like we are here. They get evaluated and promoted and granted tenure solely on their publication scholarship. Their teaching means nothing to their careers at those universities. So don't expect anything but that they will meet their classes, they will turn back your assignments with a grade on them.
And aside from that, they're researching.
He came back after the semester and said, Dr. Tebbetts, boy, were you right. He said, I had an office mate, he was a TA. I had an office mate come back from her appointment with her advisor saying, you know what he said to me? I had an appointment with him. I'm a graduate student, not a freshman, a graduate student. I had an appointment. I got there for it on time. And what does he say to me? I don't have time for this student. Expletive deleted.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Which I honestly just cannot fathom. I mean, I think I've been lucky with my small, tight-knit institutions in which the faculty were truly pouring into their students.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah. But you can understand why you'd have that attitude.
Well, but then think of how that translates to the attitudes of the students.
Yeah.
How much they're going to, want to talk to that professor, engage in that class, learn more about that topic. It kind of just puts a bad taste in their mouth all around.
Yeah. And why shouldn't I do all the cheating I want to do?
At the end of the day, I mean, which it's value-based, no, but when you've got a professor who doesn't seem to care, why should you?
Yeah.
Which, I mean,
my son had a graduate experience that just exactly fits what you just said. He was a TA in the economics department at a university. And his job as a TA in this case was not teaching a class, but being an assistant to one of the tenured professors' elementary introductory economics, macroeconomics course. It was in an auditorium with several hundred students, each of whom was assigned a particular seat. Greg's job was to take a fresh seating chart every day and mark which seats were filled, because the teacher counted attendance in his grades. Of course, Greg said you couldn't tell whether that was the student assigned to the class.
At that point, when you have hundreds of people, you could just have a butt in a chair and you're...
Yeah. And he said some of them were obviously asleep, their heads on the desk. There was no way to record that. Some of them were obviously doing homework for some other class. Some of them were reading a newspaper. He said none of that mattered. And what the professor was doing was reading aloud from the textbook.
Oh, I cannot imagine. I've seen, I think, just like movies and shows where basically the professors are doing that. They're up at the top and just reading an article. I'm like,
it's real.
I cannot.
It's real.
I mean, especially, and then it's like, again, the way that our Lyon students can complain because they have to do all of their readings in advance of class. And maybe that feels not fair when other people are being read aloud to.
Well, it's in kindergarten you're supposed to be read aloud to.
Yes. Plus, how are you going to bring a discussion if you're reading it in class? Yeah. How do you know anything about that?
To top it all off, Greg said it was the same book he had for macro here at Lyon.
Oh, gosh. So he's got to rehear it.
And, of course, the tests were machine gradable, obviously. Okay. And Greg said there was a perfect bell-shaped curve. He said, it was so easy. Everybody in my class at Lyon would have made an A. But there was so little interest in the class.
Yeah. And so little engagement because the professor had no interest.
Yeah. Yes. No, we need to have high standards and we need to work with our students to help them reach them.
Yeah, maintain those high academic rigor.
Then they keep showing the world that this is like an Ivy League
I love that.
school.
And it's showcasing that sort of, I can't remember what it's called, viral marketing, comes from them just going out in the world and being themselves, but showcasing what we've prepared them to do.
Show you another example. Had an English major who wanted to go into professional editing. And she did an international experience. She met a young man from another university in America. They maintained their relationship after that semester, married after they graduated, and he got a job in Houston. So they went right away to Houston, and she applied for editing jobs. One in a major law firm. They hire an editorial staff to go over the writing the lawyers turn out. They gave her the test, which is, if you see any errors in these 50 sentences, correct them. If the sentences are correct, leave them alone. Write us 500 words on whatever topic, etc. She went on home. She got a call to come back down, and they said, we've actually already hired someone for the position you applied for, but we have another position coming open, I forget, in a week or 2 weeks, and we don't want to lose you. So we want to hire you now. You can start with a 1-week vacation. They started paying her. Right.
They're like, please don't apply anywhere else. You did so well on the exam. We're just going to create a position. We've got a position, but it's you.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my gosh. And then she started her new career opportunity with a week of vacation.
Yes.
Not many opportunities to do that in the professional world. That's amazing. But again, our students stand out.
Yes.
And we want to keep churning out students that stand out and that are ready to, grab the world by its horns and take advantage of the opportunities in front of them, regardless of what that field looks like.
Yes.
Okay, so right along that lines, what do you hope students feel when they think about Lyon, when they think back to their time about Lyon, whether it's 5 years down the line or 15 years down the line, what do you hope they feel?
Well, of course, the first thing is that, I got what I needed at Lyon, and Lyon education is serving me well as I enter the professional world. But I hope it's more than that. I hope it's that sense of being in part of a community, being a contributing member of the communities they live in. Lyon students do that so much as students here. Well, like when you served on the Honor Council, for example, and in Greek life, and in the campus ministry, and
our annual service days, and all of the opportunities we have to give back.
Yes, I hope they think back that, I learned at Lyon the value of that kind of service to the community you live in, because our communities aren't going to be any better than we work to make them.
Yes.
That's exactly how good they're going to be. And I hope all Lyon alumni think back on their Lyon experiences with the sense that if they already came here with that notion, that it supported them. If they didn't, that they developed that notion while they were here.
I love that. And I mean, with my background in public service, that community and civic responsibility and engagement is so important to us as human beings. And, whether people are super passionate about it and pouring so much energy and everyday time into it, or whether they're just advocating for it in their different roles and positions. I love that you sort of tie that in, because it's a non-academic component of something that you definitely get here at this college.
Right. It ties to me with a line out of Alfred Lord Tennyson's poem Ulysses, Odysseus, with the Roman name for him, the hero of the Odyssey, of course. It's a monologue that Tennyson created with Ulysses speaking. And he says about his life, I am a part of all I have known. Which at first you might think he's saying, I've been affected by everything I've experienced. But that's not, it's the opposite of that he's saying. I am a part of all I've known. I have left a piece of myself wherever I have been.
Yes.
and for the better. I hope all Lyon grads will be able to say in their old age, as Ulysses is in his old age in the poem, I am a good part of every place I've lived, every place I've worked, every community I've been a part of.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that answer.
Yeah.
So really quickly before I get to our quick hitters, I've got a few like little one-liners that you can just real quick answer.
Okay.
But if someone asked you more holistically, why does Lyon College matter?
Mm-hmm.
What would you tell them?
Mm. Matter to the world because it offers an alternative to the standard, normal type of higher education that you find in America. It offers the kind of education we've talked about, an expectation that treats students as honorable adults, that holds them to high standards, that works with them, that builds in them a sense of community. The standard state university, which is overwhelmingly where students get their higher education in numbers, just doesn't do any of that. So we're that alternative. A kind of, well, as one of our speakers said one time, probably 20 years ago, off-campus speaker, when the president's brought here, he said, the educational systems are sort of like automobiles. Most educational institutions of higher education are Chevrolets. Then there's Lyon and colleges like it. They're the Cadillacs.
I like that.
Yeah. It's a nice metaphor. I mean, it does imply one thing. You have to
it's come a little more expensive.
Yeah. It's not free. You have to work hard.
But the quality is noticeable.
Yeah.
The difference in quality is noticeable.
Absolutely.
And I think that's something that I always relate to Lyon as well, is that, we're not necessarily handing out degrees. We are doing that. But what we're creating is lifelong learners, critical thinkers, people who have an impact, people who want to create change for the better.
Keep on growing.
Exactly. And people who see life as a lifelong learning opportunity and not just something where they to achieve this point and then they are done. It's something that's a continuous opportunity.
One thing I love about the Lyon College Book Club, Alumni Book Club, that Cindy Barber has shepherded along, and that I've done occasional hosting of. I'm hosting one next month.
I was going to say that's coming up soon, huh? You're hosting another one.
Yes, on Mitch Albom's new novel, Twice, which is a fusion of fantasy and romance and mystery.
And I love Mitch Albom too.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard, when I saw the post about it, I was like, wow, that's probably going to be a good one.
Yeah,
he's a fantastic author. So many of my literary staples are his works. So.
Yeah, he's good. You can count on him.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. So, and then you've stayed pretty engaged with the alumni through the book club and various initiatives.
And Facebook. I've got several thousand Facebook friends, and overwhelmingly, it's alumni.
Okay, well,
in touch with.
When I look for new guests for Campus Connections, maybe I'll hit you up, and you'll have some people you're like, get them.
Okay.
All right, so we'll move into some quick hitters. We'll try to do one-words, one-liners, but if you want to expand, that's totally fine.
Okay.
One word that you would use to describe Lyon College.
Excellent.
A campus spot that holds the most memories for you.
Probably Alphen Room 120, where I've taught so many Faulkner classes.
Is that the Patterson room?
Yes, the Patterson room.
Look at me naming them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because all over the walls in that room are paintings that students and former students have done of Faulkner and scenes from Faulkner. So it reminds me of the classes I so frequently have taught there on my major scholarship subject, but also of the creativity of.
And it has the history there. I mean, I'm sure you're looking across the walls and remembering the student who made that work.
Yes.
That's beautiful. That's a good answer.
Yes.
So a little different. One word that best describes Lyon students.
Achieving.
I like it. One tradition on campus that you hope never disappears.
Greek life.
Okay. Your excuse me. Your favorite part of teaching. Grading? No, I'm just kidding. Nobody's favorite part.
Interaction with students.
Okay.
Yeah.
One thing that every single Lyon student should do at least one time before graduating.
Take a course completely outside their field or fields.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is such a good recommendation.
Yeah.
I've had so many students working with them for professional schools, whether it's doctors, dentists, optometrists, who, one, not only is that a common interview question, but also it gives you such good insight and break from the rigor of the academic major that you're in.
Because when you do that, you can take it pass fail. And so the pressure is off.
And you just get to enjoy.
Yes.
All right. So finish this sentence. Lyon College is special because
of the people.
Period. I can't think of a better way to end it. Dr. Tebbetts, thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
It's been a pleasure.
It reminds us all that Lyon College is not built on the stories. It's not built just on the stories and traditions that we all share, but it's built by the people who choose year after year to invest in this community. Your legacy lives not just in the years that you've served, but in the thousands of lives that you have shaped along the way. As I said at the beginning, you are and forever will be a Lyon College staple. Thank you so much for all of the service and the intellect and the time that you have given this college. Until next time, once a Scot, always a Scot.
This podcast is sponsored in part by Lyon College and KILT Studios. Thank you to Jonah Winter for the intro and outro music.